Have you noticed how most of the stuff that's popular right now is from the past? Flip phones, boy bands, Barbie, Grimace, remakes of old movies, and even new songs are just old songs remixed. The world's most powerful institutions like Trump, Spotify, Coca-Cola, and even Hollywood are using the memory lane method to make them hugely rich and widely beloved. But how? And what can it teach us about building a brand that makes people adore us? To answer these questions, we've got to take a quick trip to the Upside Down place. The year was 2016 and Stranger Things had just hit our screens. Before I get into that, let me back up and remind you what was going down in 2016. Brexit, the election of Donald Trump, the death of David Bowie and Alan Rickman, racial tensions in America, the Syrian refugee crisis, climate anxiety worldwide, and memes like this were doing the rounds. Good to see we've collectively upped our meme game since then, but in summary, the global mood was nah. People were scared and threatened. But then, like a warm blanket, the chunky synths and moody color grade of this cool new show wrapped around us, soothing our frayed nerves. Stranger Things was like a relief, a release. And in an instant, it seemed like the whole world was obsessed with the 80s-inspired adventures of Eleven and her friends. People who weren't even alive in the 80s were nostalgic for the 80s. And you might ask, how could that be? Well, what they were really nostalgic for wasn't the decade, it was the imagined feeling of the decade. The cozy familiarity of being kids, riding our bikes everywhere, going on urgent adventures with our friends. A simpler time where our biggest fears were monsters under the bed and making it home in time for dinner. Because while 2016 was 2016ing around us, Stranger Things let us escape into the safety of the past. Now, I know that sounds weird because the 80s wasn't exactly a safe time with the AIDS crisis and all of that stuff. As humans, we have this cognitive bias called rosy retrospection, which is where we selectively remember the past as more positive than we actually experienced it. And when you pair that with declinism, which is the notion that the world is getting inevitably worse, this leaves us wide open to something called nostalgia marketing. A strategy where the world's biggest brands take you on a trip down memory lane to make you adore them. And I'm going to tell you how you can do the same, but first hit subscribe so I can keep making videos like this to help you find your thing and become a category of one. Building a brand is all about getting people to associate a positive feeling with you. And one of the biggest shortcuts to making people feel good is nostalgia. Like, have you ever been around a group of old school friends and they start trading stories about the good old days? We love to reminisce. It feels so good. And if a brand can help us access those nostalgic feelings, using our emotional connections to the past to create a positive association with their brand in the present, we adore them for it. And not only this, research shows that it makes us buy more of their stuff. Put simply, man remember past, man feel good, man buy thing. And I'm sorry because now I've pointed it out, you're about to see nostalgia marketing everywhere. Like Mac has just brought back these iconic plastic cups and of course Grimace. This Spotify ad with the never ending story. This Coke ad with bottles singing NSYNC. This Uber Eats ad with Wayne's World. This Apple ad with the Cookie Monster, and please let me know if you can think of any other examples because they're everywhere. They're all in a desperate attempt to make you feel something, god damn it. And people fall for it every time. It doesn't just happen in advertising either. Donald Trump's whole political strategy is rooted in nostalgia. With his slogan, Make America Great Again, he invoked rosy retrospection by inviting his supporters to remember a past in which they were happier, or at least thought they were, while simultaneously playing up their fears in the present. This created a positive brand association, which was a recipe for building an emotional connection with his supporters. And that's not all. We're seeing whole new levels of the memory lane method being used in the entertainment industry as well. Have you noticed how lately we're in the era of the remake? Every second song is a remix, every second movie is a reboot. And that's because with shrinking budgets, smaller profits, and the changing landscape of the tech industry, we're seeing film and music industry executives becoming way less open to taking creative risks. Pulling on nostalgic levers like Jennifer Coolidge or Adam Sandler, Lindsay Lohan, Elvis, a toy like Barbie. It's a pretty safe bet financially because they get to capture the people who grew up with that thing as well as the new generation, if they do it just right. Nostalgia is great for the bottom line, but historically, things that are great for the bottom line aren't necessarily great for creativity, which is a problem, but that's a whole other story. So we know nostalgia is a wildly powerful tool. But why? What's the psychology of it? You walk past a woman on the street wearing a jasmine perfume, and boom, suddenly you're in your backyard as a kid where the fences were lined with jasmine. Or you hear a song on the radio that was playing during your first kiss, and suddenly you get this intense flashback of how her lips felt on yours. Nostalgia is so powerful because it induces something called a Proustian moment, a vivid, involuntary memory brought to mind by a sensory experience. It's actually really cool how it works. Certain cues like smell or sound activate the amygdala and the hippocampus, which are areas in our brain associated with emotion and memory. And it happens instantly, bypassing our usual conscious thought process. This direct pathway to our emotions is why nostalgia is such a potent tool in marketing. Okay, so let's talk about how you can use it to build a brand that people adore. Luckily, you don't need to go full 80s to use the memory lane method, because I've put it down to 4 simple steps for you. So the first step is to understand your target audience's cultural context. As Kamala Harris once said,
"You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Well, it means you got to consider not just who your audience is, but what the world was like when they grew up. So define their age, location, and vocation, and then grab a pen and do this exercise. On one side, write they used to, and the other side, write and now. Now, list all the things that your target audience experienced in the world growing up and how their life might be different now. We're looking here for things they might be missing. So for example, if my target audience was 25 living in Australia entrepreneurs, maybe they used to go to barbecues on the weekend with their family, and now they don't even see their family. Or they used to feel hopeful about the world, and now they're worried about climate change. Step 2. Now identify from these columns the one main feeling that your target audience yearns for. This might be togetherness, family, friends, nature, simplicity, not working so hard, being carefree. Step 3. And this is the part that takes some crafting. Now you've got to hide your vegetable in the cake. Your vegetable is your product, service, idea, message, or that converting element that you want people to hear. The cake is the nostalgic wrapper around it that people love. And this wrapper is usually a specific cultural reference that represents the feeling they yearn for. So in this ad, the vegetable is buy our phones.
Our phones were made to help us connect, yet somehow they've made us less connected, which is ironic, don't you think?
The feeling people yearn for is a world where we're less distracted by the digital and more connected emotionally. And the cake, the nostalgic element, is Alanis Morissette, with the tie-in that it's ironic that a phone company is telling you to use your phone less. Another example is these content creators called We Love You.
I wonder if The Rock is dreaming about us and all the things that we get to do. Like walk around and eat food and have friends.
They're activists, so the vegetable is help us save the planet. The feeling that their audience yearns for is immersion in nature, like they had as a kid. And the cake, the nostalgic element, is vibrant but dreamy visuals, simple but poignant scripts, emotional music, and childlike joy. Step 4. Now work this into your content or brand. This might be in the references you make, the stuff you say, the way that you look, your brand identity, the music, the editing, the fashion. Get creative. But once you nail this, you can take people down memory lane and they will adore you for it. If you got something out of this video, hit subscribe so I can keep making videos to help you find your thing. Okay, bye.